So then we discussed about administrative controls, technical controls, and physical controls. So what are the administrative controls? Like we discussed in the last class, policies, standard procedures, guidelines, background screening, security awareness training, change controls. This is all associated with administrative controls. And technical controls, as we know that we were using implementation of maintenance access, password resource management, identifications, security device configurations, controlling the device into different facilities, how we are using it. So under this, we'll be having three types of facilities, which is known as the deterrent control, preventive control, detective control, corrective control, recovery control, and compensative control. So we had discussed each and every controls. What is preventive controls? Mainly preventing confidential data. Deterrent control, providing if they are not aware of the what type of information has to be classified for them in the organizations, there would be like 60% would be technical team, another 20% would be non-technical background. So for them, we need to provide a training, security awareness training, privacy training, so organization behavioral training, non-disclosure training. This all training will help the organization to prevent at least 10% to reduce the any kind of activities. Compensation controls is like a backup or disaster recovery plan or business continuity plan. Then we have corrective controls, recovery controls, directive controls. These are the very common controls we have discussed. Now we're going to start with organization process. So what is organization process? So whenever we talk about organization process, so this is not that important for the exam. Okay. So when you're preparing for the exam, if you get this type of multiple choice questions in your dumps, do not spend time. You don't get any questions from this particular slide. So organization process is about the company's profit, like acquisition and merger, and we have divestitures and spin-off. If the company is not doing well, they want to split into two parts. So let's discuss about acquisition and merger. So let's take an example of Walmart combining with, so let's take an example of Walmart want to extend their business with Flipkart. So when they are trying to merge together, they have a different types of domain issues. So www.walmart.com, all the employees IDs will be at walmart.com. If the people they are working combined together, so there will be a Flipkart domain, so Flipkart email address. So when they are combined together, there will be a lot of policy violations issues. So there will be a business partners which they require. They need to take a time. They need to marketing themselves. Then we need to see the divestitures and spin-off. This is like if Walmart and Flipkart are not doing good, and most of the business they are not, the profit they are taking, and the Flipkart they're not giving the right amount of business stake. So that time the organization will split. There will be a lot of issues with terms of disgruntled employees or broken system interconnections, or data loss and data leakage. So grudge or disgruntled employees means they have an enmity inside the organization, but they don't show it. They show it in a different way, how to breach the confidentiality of information. So governance committee mainly focus on recruitment, maintenance, and governance board. So this is like people who would like to, if a person or a senior manager has left the organizations, in terms of head of information cybersecurity, head of information of application security, head of information of business security. So that time the senior board will hire a person. So there will be a lot of rounds, like multiple rounds has to be screening, and based on that they provide the information. So security professional, we need to know how to learn the board functions, ensure committee understand the information of security risk and management, maintain working and consulting the relationship with the committees. These are the very important things they focus on governance committee. So next we have roles, responsibilities. So where we have board of directors, chief executive officers, and chief financial officers. For the exam, do not spend time on board of directors, chief executive officers, or chief financial officer. Our goal, our cybersecurity goal, we mainly focus on chief information security officers and chief information officers. So this is like we have various people of information securities. We have top management following some of the most important roles and responsibilities. So some of the informations we have, the CISO roles, he is the main pillar to have look around with the different organization infrastructures. So when we say in a cybersecurity, we have a different platform. Especially people who are working in a banking domain, they will be having a risk compliance governance team. They will be having a penetration testing team, networking team. They will be having application security team. They will be having vulnerability assessment management team, threat and defense team. So like that, we have different types of team to make sure that monitors. This makes sure that they perform a protection layer of circle, first line of defense, second line of defense, third line of defense, so that any kind of an attack happens immediately that would makes you to monitor what type of violations, what type of threat, what are the risks associated in the organizations. So if at all the CISO want to choose the framework, he might choose Costco framework if it is a financial. If you want to have completely industry IT related base, he can use COBIT. If he is supporting for the global support, he can use ISO 27001, ITL, NIST for US. So there are many frameworks. So at present, what we use is most of the organization use ISO 27001. They get certified. Then they use NIST framework in US and ISO 27001, all the Asia Pacific. So this is all the information is provided with step-by-step process. So some of the things what CISO does is he makes sure that the system or a data centers which is associated for the information, that is very, very important. So first thing, he makes sure that he goes through all the policies, procedures, and guidelines. Make sure this policies, procedure, guidelines are up to the mark. Make sure if there is any necessary requirement, then he can change that information as per the requirement. He has to review the security architectures. He has to review the network diagrams. He has to review the each and every SOC 1, Type 1, Type 2 reports. He has to do a sign off for the reports. If there is a security scorecard which is lesser than that, he has to perform a reassessment. So it's not a very easy job. He is the one person who is like sleepless night, keeps on monitoring each and every pillar of the organizations. At the end of the day, he has to also repeat the audits. First, he has to check the compliance team. So first, he has to go to the compliance team, how he has implemented for example, in the organization, we'll be having PCI DSS, the payment card industries or data security standards. If the organization is outsourced, is associated with credit card informations or debit card informations. So what type of, how many millions of transactions is being used? So based on that, he does a checklist. He performs an auditing informations. Then we have a healthcare like medical insurance. So medical insurance is again a separate background we have in Cissp. So like how we have Cissp, we do have healthcare certified information security professional, which is mainly for hotel and hospitality industries. So we have two types of controls which we use. One is HIPAA, another one is high-tech. So HIPAA mainly we use is Health Insurance Portability Accountability Act, which is used in United States for the compliance issues. If you have any information, they can use it for. Then we have regular audits. So in audits, there are different types of audit. One is IT general audits. There is ITGC controls. There is like assurance team who verifies the evidence of the audits. There are like the external audits which performed by Big Four companies. So like that, CISO will have multiple dots connected with different departments inside the cybersecurities, and he has to make sure they outline some of these structures, how it has been implemented in the system process. This all plays a very important role. So at last, if there is an auditing going on in the organization, so he will take care of all the infrastructures. At the end of the day, he has to verify with human resources. This is the only team which has a weakness in technological part. They'll not be aware of what is confidential data, how the confidential data is used, because they are the human resources of the team who will be knowing each and every individual of the salary, pay slip, or any kind of discrepancies or any kind of violations. Everything records they'll be having it. So since a job has to make sure how physical records have to be maintained. In terms of physical records, if any employees join the organizations, he would have been provided his education certificate, his government proof ID card as in the form of a photocopy. So how it has to be preserved and how it has to be dismantled when we don't use it. So that's how he has to guide with the human resource team. So there are like investigations, data retentions, team development, and talent management process. So normally it will not be a direct approach. So under CISO, there will be a lot of informations like the auditors or general auditors or IT auditors or information security assessors or information security architect, they will play this role and they give an updated report on the CISO meeting board. So this is again the first chapter which we talked about risk management, compliance audit, and legal human resources governance. So I've just articulated it with a different framework. So this is in the cyber securities, we have different types of roles, responsibility associated for individuals. This is just like need to know concept. Network administrators, policy and compliance officers, quality assurance testers, business analysts, enterprise architect, software developers for application securities. So this slide number 50 is not that important for the exam. This is just the types of roles, responsibility associated in the organizations, and you don't get any questions related to this. I will update you each and every questions, which is very important for the exam. So based on that, we will focus on it. So as a CISO, there are different types of journey with the CISOs. I will tell you my experience with respect to the CISO. If it is a small based company, they will expect only to review the ISO 2700 auditions or annual certification reports, or to perform a proper budget for the organizations. So they don't have if it is like 800 employees. So for this 800 employees, what type of security budgets they need to provide and how it has to be implemented. Suppose if it is a very large or huge companies like State Bank of India or Wells Fargo Bank, or any huge infrastructure which carries up to 10,000 to 15,000 employees, or 20,000 to 75,000 of employees, they would be having a multiple CISOs, and there will be also a virtual CISOs. So their job is to make sure the project implementations, make sure the tactical plannings of technical issues, operation and project planning. So here we have STO concept, which is known as strategic view, tactical view, operational view. A strategic planning is a long-term view, a project to achieve the goal 3 to 5 years. So tactical planning is like a medium term of initiatives, deployments, more specific than the strategic is like 6 to 18 months. So operation and project planning is especially daily, like passive reset issues, ongoing issues, which will be a problem management, never ending show. So there will be keep on a lot of incidents coming with the same repeated team. So they need to identify, address, close, and rework on that particular time. So this is strategic means 3 to 5 years of goal implementations, deployment on premises, cloud implementations, software, soft implementations. Tactical means midterm, like 6 to 18 months of the specific of strategics. Operation means it's like specifically weekly. This would be a service desk, help desk, administrators, Windows administrator, patch management, so on. So this is just like an overview of a CISO plan, what he does in the organization day-to-day task. So next one, we're going to talk about executive management. So whenever we work on executive management, it is a set of priorities in terms of senior management, head of the organizations like chief executive officer, chief risk officers, chief information officers, chief information security officers. And some companies, they have this chief security officer. So you will be having always a confusion between chief information security officers, chief information officers, and chief security officer. So let me help you out with the first one, chief information security officer. So chief information security officer is a person who takes the responsibility about business, stakeholders, internal, external risk management, vendor assessment, third-party risk management, all together in one platform. Whereas chief information officer, his role is to make sure of strategic planning, investment, budgeting for the organizations. So when the budgeting is going too high, he will try to cut off that and provide that information. So in some organizations, you have CISO and you do also have CIO, okay? The top level of that. So sometimes they wanted to make sure that this company is in a standard form. So some organizations, they use chief security officer. Here, the chief security officers will play an important role in terms of risk management, cyber security operations, as well as physical securities. So if he is really associated with physical securities, then he will be awarded as chief security officers, mainly taking care of physical security surveillance information. So normally this executive managements have an overall of liabilities like protection of information, must have a commission of assessment of identifying the risk, ensuring the organization functions like infrastructures, fulfilling the informations, security directives, and comply with regulation process. They must have a visible involvement of information security process. So this executive management, you don't get any questions for the exam point of view. Okay. So our main goal is chief information security officers. So what are these information security professions they follow with? So they follow with policies, standards, supporting and guidelines, regulations, analyzing the vendor solutions like advanced organizations of securities. These are the very important aspect they focus on, the information process. The next one we have with defense in depth. So what is this defense in depth? So in the previous slide, in the last class, we discussed about the types of controls. So when we say a type of controls, we discussed about the administrative controls, technical controls, and then we discussed about the physical security controls. So under that, we also discussed about functionality of controls, how this functionality of controls are used, and what are the important things that we need to focus on. So normally, any organization, if we take first, they make sure that a multi-layer of protections has to be implemented. So that when we say multi-layer of protection means we have administrative controls, we have technical controls, we have physical security controls. So these administrative controls mainly focus on policies and procedures. So physical security is like a first line of defense, which mainly focus about any kind of intrusion system that might violate the organizations or facilities. Then in technical controls, we have virus scanner, we have patch management, we have rule-based access control, we have security architectures, we have demilitarized zones, and so on. So we have different types of the controls. So why we are using this defense in depth? So defense in depth, its main importance is it mainly focus on the multiple layer. If an hacker is trying to get into the system, so whichever he is trying to break the physical system, then he is trying to break the technical system. Under technical system, he has a 6 to 7 controls he need to break. So whenever he is trying to intrude, so easily the system will detect what in the continuous monitoring team, like a Splunk or security incident event management or HP tipping point. This will let us know the alarm. There is some kind of suspicious activities who is trying to bypass the network perimeters. So immediately we'll identify, we will make sure that what is his intention and how we can block him from the network access. This is the main goal of this potential threat. So normally for this laptop, if you see in your organizations, either they might be using a VPN connections and a big locker system. And once you log into a system, the first message would be disk encryption, which is a bit locker. The second one would be a username and password. So once the username and password is done, there will be a multi-factor of authentication. Make sure that you are the legitimate person for the organization. This is all the preventive controls, how we safeguard our organization practices. So defense in depth is a security strategies in which several protection layers are placed throughout an information system. It helps to prevent a direct attack against the informations which the system or breaks into one layer to attacker of the next layer. So whenever the hacker he wants to try, he has to break all the barriers of security controls, which includes technical, administrative, and physical security controls. There will be a compulsory question on defense in depth. So this defense in depth can be also named as protection of layers or protection in depth or multiple layer depending on the situations. So it is not classifying, that is the process of implementation. Okay, so last class we discussed about 3 main pillars of cybersecurity: people, process, technologies. Okay, so when we always categorize these people, process, technologies, this technical will be classified according to the informations. Administrative controls, it was started from almost 1998, the security system. So from that 1998 itself, the Cissp is there. Those days when people used to take the Cissp exam, they used to have a graphite scanner, OCR scanner. Okay, so the questions will be there. You'll be having a magnetic paper. In that magnetic paper, you need to bring your pencil. So you just need to scratch which is the option A, B, C, D. You just need to scan it. And once you scan that, it will give that information. The reason why I'm saying that is from that date till date, they are having that 4 to 5 domains as by default as the same domain. They have not changed it. The only domain that they have changed is security engineering as per the emerging technologies, because most of the technologies have been changed from data server to web server, then application server, then they had a data centers, then they had cloud servers. Now everything is like virtualization server. So they don't purchase any server or data centers for their own purpose. Everything would be a cloud-based services. So based on that, how security can be projected and how it can be prevented from any kind of unethical issues. So defense in depth is an important concept of designing effective information of security strategies. When designed and implemented correctly, with multiple opportunities of controls. If a hacker is trying to bypass each and every control, it minimum takes like 1 hour, 2 days, 3 days, depending on the type of control he is using it. Moreover, they'll be having an encryption method. So that itself would be like 192-bit or 256-bit or 526-bit, depending on the different architectural level. So it might be a hacker, a very tough job in getting into the system. So that's the reason he always goes with the easiest method, like phishing method. So like sending a suspicious link or any kind of marketing link or any kind of trusted link. With that, he will try to suspect the system and hack the system process. So next one is a supply chain attack. So this is very, very important for the exam, supply chain attack, because what happens is we normally trust any company. They are associated with electronic like hardware devices. So this hardware devices is a big manufacturer brand like HP or Dell or Macintosh, or we have Lenovo. So different types of technologies will be using it. Okay. So I'll give you a very simple example. Most of our hardware devices is being outsourced to China. So we have this quality check, we have performed assurance, we have performed trusted platform computer base. You know that there might be some kind of a malware which they can spy on our system. So what they do is when the United States is outsourced to China, they manufacture the components of the laptop or a server or a monitor, anything as such. But when they are shipping out to the US, they will assemble it there and they then reship it to geo countries like Asia Pacific, India, UK, or Americas or North Americas, different part of the countries. The supply chain is a kind of a digital environment involves of using third-party softwares. So if you see a Dell computers, it will be only the label of the Dell computers, but inside the motherboard, it would be a Mercury, or it can be a Nevada, a graphic card processor, or it can be a Central, or it can be an AMD, different types of third party. So closing the collaboration about the business and supplier and resellers will have a complete vulnerabilities in exposing their company's data. Sensitive data is shared and network becomes intervened. A single breach can affect the much wider of audience. That's the main purpose of this supply chain of digital sphere. How well we are using it, what are the important aspects of focusing on the business and supplier and reseller process. So supply chain risk management. So here your mind should be always reflected. This is mainly focused on information technologies, operation technologies. Why this is very important? Because the supply chain is always associated with the n number of likelihood of threat posed by external suppliers, vendors, resellers, logistics, and transportations. This includes a pack of attacks, cyber attacks targeted with the third parties, which is perceived by weakers, and defense that can be targeted the organizations. These are the main things they focus on the supply chain risk management. A supply chain risk may be included insertion of counterfeit, unauthorized productions, tampering, theft insertions, or malicious softwares or hardwares, as well as the poor manufacturing or development practice of supply chain. These are the very common types of threat associated globally. So you would have seen this in the Amazon. Most of the time, there will be a festival season like 60% discount, 80% discount. The reason is there might be some kind of counterfeit associated with this supply chain risk management. Or sometimes this product should be appeared if they have manufactured this product in 2023 and it has to be should be promoted in 2023 due to some supply chain issues or due to some kind of issues, they would have released very late. So that time this product comes to the market and no one is ready to buy. That time what they do is they fabricate this information and sell it in the Amazon or Flipkart, any kind of things. So people like experience will not go and buy that 60% or 80% discount product. People like freshers, people who want to buy the laptop just to make sure that they have a laptop, in terms of Macintosh or Apple computers or any kind of things, that time they forcefully buy that fancy hardware devices. So at end of the day, after 6 to 7 months, he will come to know that he has to purchase a genuine software, genuine operating system, and there will be a lot of issues like coming up. So there are different types of frameworks associated in the organizations. The first one is common maturity model focused on US, and the second one is NIST frame, and then we have ISO 27001 frame. This is all are very, very important in terms of different aspect. If the organization is completely associated with the defense military sections, then it has to be always used as CMCC network model. Here we have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5. So up to stage 5, we'll be having a list of progress, how we have implemented. NIST framework is mainly focused on US area. So in this NIST framework, it is for each, like if you talk about the risk management, it contains a huge number of process document, how we are implemented. For even a small things, they have documented like 15 to 20 pages. The only disadvantages is it's like too lengthy and we have to be completely focused and implemented like 2 to 3 times. Only then you will be having like each and every clauses will be associated with it. So one of my favorite is ISO 27001. This is still I recommend. This is a mother of all the frameworks. From this framework only they derived NIST, CMMCC, SANS, or CIS control. Benchmark 1 and 2. So we have 14 controls. Each control is properly defined, very good English, fabricated with associated network. We can easily do an auditing for this. If anything is there with the evidence, we can collect and we can perform ISO 27001. The next one we have is due care and due diligence. So due care is nothing but a person, a security guy who's taking care of the organization's structures or practices. So for example, if an engineer or a cybersecurity engineer is working on a vulnerability or antivirus system, so his job is to make sure that he has like 2,500 endpoint system. So that he scans the device. In that you find Windows operating systems, you find AS400, you have mainframes, you have cloud servers, virtualization servers. So he scans the device, make sure that if there is any patches need to be updated, his job is to update the patches with a high priority. So that is his main job, regularly giving, testing, monitoring, and updating the patches. So due care is like a policies or implemented actions of the organization to be taken and minimize a tangible, intangible assets, which has an information of assets like customers, employees, resources, and reputations. So one of the example is updating the patches for all the endpoint systems. So implementing risk management, make sure that what type of threat is associated in the system. Perimeter securities like InfoSec policy. These are the common things that we focus on implementing risk management and perimeter of security InfoSec. So next one is due diligence. The due diligence is the concept of due care. Due diligence are related but distinctly different. For example, of practicing due care is like turning on the logs. Due diligence is a regular review of the logs. So I would always give one of the basic examples. Imagine a family, okay? So in a family, you have father, mother, and a child. So the due diligence always takes care, a mother will act like a due diligence, takes care of the child, take care of the father as well. But due diligence makes sure that everything has been given to the due diligence control. And same way we'll be monitoring with the child activities. So due diligence is a father, like the concept is to make sure that he makes sure that it has to be fixed and resolved. So continual actions of the organization protecting the minimized risk of tangible and intangible assets. So one of the best example is we are doing a VAPT test, okay? So vulnerability management. So out of 100 system, due diligence, the vulnerability analyst would have updated all the patches. Only 5 system is not available in the environment. It's completely offline for almost 2 to 3 weeks. So this vulnerability analyst will escalate it to the higher managers like a team leader or information security manager. This information security managers will collect the customers, the employees' MAC address, IP address, and the phone number and assign the service note ticket to the field IT. So field IT will connect with them and make sure what is the issue. If there might be many reasons, genuine reasons, some might be in a maternity leave, some would have gone for a marriage festival, some would have gone for any kind of long leave. applied leave or so on. There will be many reasons. So he makes sure that he connects to the network, update the patches, and they fix all the file system. This is what the due diligence does. A due diligence ensures that all the assets are being protected. Ensure that criminal conduct is being detected. Make sure that compliance, laws, regulations is being implemented. Validating and effectiveness of due care. Basically speaking of your controls and routine. So reading the contracts, background checks, credit checks, knowing the application of regulations and laws, this all keeps in a bay of the due diligence results.
For full course video training, visit MildainTrainings.com. Register now.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel.